We've been waiting a few years now for the relaunched 408. We finally have it here today in Obsession Blue. It's only a day after the launch on the Irish market, but it's taken on a slightly different shape than we're used to. Let's see if it was worth the wait. For me, Peugeot have nailed the styling with the 408, just like they've been doing with the 208 and the 308 in recent years. For the second time, we're seeing this new badging, the Peugeot logo on the front there. I love the little kind of chrome silver accents that's across the grille, really breaks it up a little bit. Lots of sharp angles here, really like the design overall. These two creases that run up the bottom. But there we've got the LED lights as well, and these fangs that are a real signature now of the Peugeot cars. I think it looks great from the front end. Let's spin the camera around, have a look at the side and the back as well. It's from this side angle then that we see the difference with the 408 and its predecessors, and mainly at the back here. It's not an SUV, it doesn't have that bulk, it's not a saloon. Is it a cross between a shooting brake and an SUV? Not quite sure, but I do like it. Now, 2.7 meters, just over 2.7 meters, that wheelbase is stretched out to, so we've got good space inside. 19-inch alloys that we're on here today, but of course if you spec up to the GT, you'll get even better ones and bigger wheels as standard. Overall, I think it looks really good from the side. Around the back, it's still quite sharp and angular, the design. I do like it, although I haven't fully made up my mind on this, the bumper, the big chunky black plastic bumper. How is that going to age? What it's going to look like in a few years? Easy to replace, all right. I can't help but think that if the body colour was carried down a little bit further, but then again, the designers are a lot smarter than I am, and I will trust their judgment on it. Another feature that you see up here is that the brake line of where the boot and the roof meet is actually a little bit farther along than you might think for a fastback. In there is where the hinges are, and you've got these little cat's ears, as they call them. Nice design feature just there.
Take a moment, enjoy the calm. You could be stuck on the N7 with two teething toddlers, but we don't do stress at the AA. We do Roadside Rescue, and our trained mechanics fix 8 out of 10 problems at the roadside. Buy online now at theAA.ie. Relax. Yellow and black have got your back.
Let's open up the boot now and have a look into what is 536 litres of space. So that's actually quite good. Now, caveat on that is that if you go for the hybrid version of this and spec it out a little bit with the hi-fi, you're down to 454 litres of space, which isn't as great for a car of this size. Now, I do like that you've got a nice wide aperture just there for fitting in your buggies and bigger bags, and I like the way the parcel shelf is attached to the door itself there, with another little one just there that you can remove as well if you like. So yeah, overall decent showing, although if you are going for the hybrid version, just beware that you are getting much less space. Some decent options on the 408 in terms of alloys. So 17-inch will be your standard. Now we have the 19-inch Jaspa just here. There's a different 19-inch design, and there's also a 20-inch one, the monolith, which look, I think, absolutely fantastic. I think that they've found a nice balance in how the suspension is set up, so it's not quite as comfortable or wafty as the Citroen. And here we are at a housing estate going over a ramp here at 30 kilometers an hour. And yeah, dampeners are nice, it takes it well, it's quite comfortable, but it's still firm enough that when we get up to a little corner like this and you put it in, there's not too much body roll, and you don't get that sense that it's too wafty or you're out of control either. So it's a nice little balance, little potholes as well. Really good sound insulation, dampeners take those quite well. So overall, it is a very comfortable car. You'll definitely find a sportier feel out there. And if you're looking for a little bit more of a dynamic drive, then this isn't going to be the one for you. But for what this car was designed to be, just getting people around, being a decent little motorway cruiser, it's nicely put together. With that increased wheelbase, we're expecting a little bit more space inside, and we do get it. So for a bit of context, I'm 6'2" and a 1.88 meters thereabouts. I have the car set up for me here at a nice comfortable position. In terms of head height, I've got the seat up a little bit so that I can actually see over that steering wheel, and I have, about a fist's worth of head space just there, although I can go down a little bit lower. And yeah, good bit of space now. So anyway, let's put that back into my seating position, get into the back and show you what it's like with the seat set like this. What I do like about the back here is it's got a nice wide aperture for getting in and out, although slightly compromised just here at the head level, as you can see. Now, in terms of leg room, yeah, it's pretty good. Like, I have that seat set up myself at 6'2", and I tend to put it back far anyway, and I've still got a little bit of space there, so that is quite good. But the problem, as we just hit into that, arises when I put my head back here and it is actually just scraping off the roof a little bit. Now, I can slouch and I'm leaning forward slightly, it's absolutely fine. And how often are you going to have two people at 6'2" or bigger in the back of a car? Then if we shuffle across just here, transmission tunnel is there, but it's kind of only about that height, so there's a little bit more space than you might expect. 2 USB connections, could be a hole there, magazine holders, and overall, yeah, it's comfortable enough. And on that note, on the motorway, the sound insulation is very good. When you're sitting there at 120 kilometers an hour on the motorway, you don't get that much air noise from outside. The A-pillars especially get that with a lot of cars. It's quite good, but even sound insulation obviously around the wheel arches and from the engine bay into the cabin is quite good. It's a very, very comfortable drive, coupled with the adaptive cruise control, means that it's a nice little motorway muncher, lead up the miles all right. Very happy inside the new 408. I think it looks really, really well. Lots of nice materials. I like this cloth kind of insert that spans around the dash. A little bit of black kind of squishy plastics, but do you know what? It's executed quite well. And let's not forget that we've got the entry-level spec here. If you have that extra 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 euros to spend on the car, you're going to get even better quality seats, more interior lighting, and really, really just spruce it up a bit. But it's already quite good. I like this screen just here. Gloss black inserted, and it fits into the dash nicely. And then you've got some shortcut buttons just underneath for navigation media, but you can customize that as well. And then I'm delighted they kept this. A few toggle switches down there for your hazard lights, turn your heating on and off, the demisters, and a traditional volume button to just turn or to press to mute it. Really, really welcome. Then on this center console down here, we've got our gear selector, so reverse, neutral, drive, but also 3 driving modes, so sport, normal, and eco. We're running the 1.2 litre petrol here. It's never going to be that sporty anyway, but having said that, it's nice to have it there, and as you spec up obviously to the FEV versions, it's worth it. Couple of USB connections, one there and one in this little cubby hole there. Okay space, another little cubby hole there, and 2 cup holders, but you can have a little slider there to close that up. But yeah, overall, it's really, really nice. Here we are at a traffic light about to take off, and let's give it the beans. Little bit of traction control kicking in, the engine is roaring, and that 1.2 litre petrol engine turns out 131 horsepower, and it does not feel fast. So you're looking at the 0 to 100 kilometer per hour time in 10.4 seconds, which traditionally is absolutely fine. It's perfectly adequate to get you going, even with a few people in the back of the car. But these days, in a world and a market that's filling up more and more with electric vehicles, it does feel quite sluggish. I think people are going to criticize it for being underpowered. However, that's not fully fair, because 130 horsepower is enough. It's plenty to get you around with luggage and stuff like that. And you're not buying this car for the sporty effect. So let's talk money, and we had the press launch of the 408 only a couple of days ago, and they sent us home with the full price list, and there's quite a variance as well from the entry level all the way up to the top. So there's 3 trim levels on the 408. We've got the Allure, which we have, the Allure Pack, and then the top of the level GT version. So entry level, cheapest you're going to get into the 408 for is exactly 40,000 euros. That's the Allure spec that we have. You want the plug-in hybrid version, that add 5,000 euros for 45,000. Then your Allure Pack, the mid-level one, starts off at 42,000 euros, or 47 if you go for the hybrid version of it. Then you're up into the GT, and it looks, I think, really, really good. The bigger alloy wheels, the little badge just there indicating that it's the GT spec. 45,000 euros for your straight 1.2 litre petrol engine. If you go for the hybrid one, you're up to 50,000 euros exactly. And then there's a slightly more powerful variant of that hybrid version, which is 52,500 euros. Is that good value? Well, it's up to you to decide, really. Let us know in the comments. What do you think? 40,000 euros, is that a good entry level price for this? And a top of the line spec GT, 225 horsepower plug-in hybrid, 52,500 euros. Is it too much? Let us know in the comments. We would love to hear from you. In terms of fuel economy in the 408, WLTP test cycle will put it around that 6 to 7 litres. per 100 kilometres. Now we've actually beaten that quite comfortably. We picked up the car at Peugeot Ireland headquarters, drove it down to the launch, all the way back home. So since I picked it up on a full tank, I've done 368 kilometres and I'm still showing well over half a tank with an indicated range of 620 kilometres left. And the average fuel consumption is bang on 5. So 5.0 litres per 100 kilometres. But having said that, that really was optimistic driving. I had plenty of time on the way down because it was early for the event and I just sat on the motorway at 100 kilometres an hour. So that's about the best you're ever going to get out of it. And something like that 7 litres per 100 kilometre mark was probably more realistic because that's what the average was when I picked up the car based on whoever had been driving it previously. It was 7.6 litres per 100 kilometres. There are a few variants to the 408 and we have the 1.2 litre petrol engine. Now that's your filler cap just there and we can put in 52 litres. Obviously nowhere to plug it in because it's not the hybrid version. If you do go for the hybrid version, your fuel tank then is 40 litres, reducing that capacity, the overall range a good bit. But you do get the battery, which is 12.4 kilowatt hours, and that'll be good for, in the real world, something like 40-45 kilometres and maybe in and around 60 if you treat it right. In terms of day-to-day comfort driving around the 408, I like the way it's set up. Now we have the Allure spec, which is a very entry-level one for the 408 that is, and it comes nicely appointed. I mean, the materials are really, really nice, I have to say. Some nice fabrics mixed in with a little bit of kind of faux leather plastics, but they're squishy plastics. They're nice. The seats are good. For your entry level, these are nice. They're fabric seats with kind of a fake leather effect insert, quite comfortable. Now they're not electric, but I've got lumbar support here which I can adjust myself, and it is just quite nice overall. Now a problem remains with the steering wheel. Some people, they get used to it and they're fine, but I still do have an issue with it. I find that it largely blocks the driver's display just behind here. Now you can adjust it, and I found a way where I put the seat up a little bit higher than I would like it, so I'm kind of a bit closer to the roof in terms of head height here, and then I've dropped the steering wheel down as low as I can get it without going to a level where my hands would be banging off my knees as I turn, and now I can see the full thing. But I just feel like I shouldn't have to work that hard to get a full display in the driver's binnacle. So that's our look around the Peugeot 408, and you know what, aesthetically I think it's absolutely brilliant. Really good looking car. Now it's going to take a little bit of time before we determine what the Irish market thinks of it with that new styling, that kind of blend between crossover SUV, fastback or SUV. We're not quite sure what it is yet. With an entry-level price of €40,000, might be a little bit rich for some people, but you know what, you get a lot of spec for that, and especially as you go out into the GT versions. At that stage you are perhaps starting to rival some of the more premium German brands, and it should be on some people's shortlists for that very reason. For me personally, I'm really excited about the all-electric version. I think it's got a great suspension, great setup, great styling. It's going to be really, really comfortable, nice interior, and with that electric drivetrain, I think it will just elevate it that bit more. Cannot wait to see that when it comes out. But for now, it'll be really good to see how this gets on the Irish market, and I think people will respond fairly well to it.